Guys, Lee from M.A.S. here. This morning we have a 1990 Nissan Bluebird. The customer's complaint is that he went to turn on his side lights and a very loud buzzing noise could be heard from somewhere behind the center console. Also his full beams seem to be staying on at all times. And one of the headlamps doesn't seem to be working. So my intention first is to track down the buzzing noise and from there ascertain whether it sounds to me like a relay issue, but I should know later on in the course of the investigation. So here is the customer's complaint. If he turns his side lights on, this module starts to beep. If he goes to put his full beams on, it stops, but the full beams don't switch. So what's going on? So following on from the discovery of the buzzing box, I decided to try and hunt down a wiring diagram for this model car. Easier said than done. There doesn't seem to be anything online, either with the resources that I use. The dealer doesn't want to know. Absolutely no help there. In the end, I managed to find a complete workshop manual for the Nissan Stanza, which is the North American version of this Bluebird. Scrolling through it, I found the pertinent wiring diagrams for the headlamp circuit, and I want to take you with me while I diagnose this from front to back. Now let's look at the problems that we have. On the right hand headlamp we have no lights at all. We have a buzzing from a box which doesn't even appear to be part of this circuit. This unit here that was buzzing away doesn't seem to be connected to this circuit at all. My assumption perhaps is that either I have the wrong wiring diagram or it shares a common ground. Now I'm going to start by checking for powers and grounds at the headlamp circuit by probing the connector on the combination switch on the steering wheel. As you can see here, I've already removed the cowl. This is the connector here, and from here I'll be able to take some voltage measurements that might give me some clues as to what direction to be moving in. Looking at the wiring diagram, I'm going to start at the fuse box. There are two 15 amp feeds going to this connector with the pink cover on it. I'm just going to check those. Nissan have very kindly given us some orientation on the cover. So this is the headlamp left, and this is the headlamp on the right. So we have a good supply voltage to the switch. Next, I want to back probe the power from the switch to the faulty lamp. and with this case it is the right hand lamp, and see what sort of voltage measurements we have coming out of it. So at this stage I'm back probing this red and blue feed wire for the main beam headlamp, which is the circuit that I'm focusing on, because obviously the lamp isn't working. L in the Nissan workshop manual is used for blue and B is for black. So the red and the blue wire is what I'm back probing again at the electrical connector at the steering wheel. I'd like to get you in to show you exactly where I am, but just take my word for it, it is the red and blue wire. The headlamp position has been switched to on with the full beams, and the voltage output is 14 volts. Now really, if this lamp was working correctly, it should be completely grounding that voltage and we should get close to zero on that circuit. So let's change direction and go and have a look at the lamp itself. So here we are actually at the lamp. Again, all I've done is just move the meter outside the car so that I can watch the voltages on that circuit while I have a little fiddle. I think I've already found the problem anyway. I'll get you down onto it. This connector seems to be loose. If I give it a wiggle, there we go. We have grounded out the circuit and we have our full beam light working again. Let's take a closer look inside that connector and find out what the problem is. Okay, so we are inside the connector for the right hand headlamp, and as you can see there, that black wire is of pretty bad earth, and just by wiggling it I got the connection back, as I say, completed the circuit. And my feeling is that this will probably solve all our problems. Now, why is it corroded like this? I can only speculate really. It looks like perhaps it's been water damaged, but usually earth circuits are bad when they have a resistance on them. As you can see here, there was quite a voltage on that circuit, enough to actually melt the plastic. So it's no wonder why the lamp wasn't working. I can only assume that that relay box perhaps shares the same earth or is wired in some way into this circuit. I'm not sure, the wiring diagram doesn't go into it. It doesn't matter. Just by reconnecting it, I'm going to let the engine run because it's quite a weak battery and I don't want the lights on draining it. But just by having it reconnected now, we have no noise from our buzzing friend. We have full beams and a main beam circuit which is actually switching. We have a healthy, happy lighting system in the front of the car. So let's discuss what we found. Our issue that we decided to focus on first was on this headlamp assembly here. We knew we had a good 12 volt feed going to the work out that by switching the switch, the combination switch on the stalk, this lad, that power from the fuse should be sent down this red and blue wire into the bulb, through the coil, and be grounded. So really, we should have seen, with the bulb on, that 13 to 14 volts being drawn down. Being drawn down and grounded. Therefore, no potential on the circuit if the ground was good. The other thing it could have been, obviously, would be a resistance or an open in this red and blue feed wire. That would potentially cause us to read 13 or 14 volts at the connector. Either way, the quickest thing to do would be to inspect this connector. And what did we find? We found a very bad ground that was causing a build-up of voltage, and hence why we read 13 volts on our meter on the output wire to the bulb. So the next question we have to ask is why? Why did a resistance form at this connector? Now, because it seems to be only affecting this one, I'm confident enough to say that it was just water ingress into the connector. Something to consider though, if you had similar symptoms on the whole circuit, would be these body grounds. Now, on this workshop manual, it actually shows you, if I can find the page, where the body grounds are on the main harness. Now, as you can see here, the headlamp circuits are grounded in two places. One is underneath the bonnet, the other place is just behind the A pillar. Now, this is a diagram for a left-hand drive vehicle, so everything's going to be the other way around, but I removed the piece of trim to actually access it. Yeah, so that's the body ground for the earth. I have my meter connected to battery ground, and I'm just going to probe the ground at the eyelet. Obviously I have the engine under load with the headlamps on,